Hello everybody out there and welcome back here with the future once again to another retro showcase and review. And today is going to be a real fun retro showcase and review for me and everybody out there because I have recently started recollecting my favorite toy line from when I was a kid besides Star Wars. It was always Star Wars and Masters of the Universe. And I have picked up 10 figures from online auctions lately and started kind of recollecting my collection. Some of them aren't the exact ones that I had as a kid, and some of these I didn't even have as a kid, but I'm trying to get, most of every figure that I can. Some are so rare that I'll never get a hold of, and some are, tend to be really expensive. I try to do online auctions. I try to buy lots a lot of times, so it'll come with 3 or 4 figures. You'll see here that a few of my figures have some problems, but they came in lots. So there was nothing I could do about it. Some of the figures that I picked up in lots were cheaper than buying the figure outright, by itself. And I want to pick up as many of these figures as I can. A lot of them don't have the accessories or, the chest armors and stuff like that. But throughout time here, I hope to, pick up more and gain those accessories that I need, maybe later on or throughout, my experience of recollecting them here as an adult collector. I had so many as a kid. I had the Castle Grayskull, I had Battle Cat, Panther, I had all that stuff as a kid. And if anybody doesn't know, Masters of the Universe is a line of figures, toys created by Mattel in 1981. It consisted of a collection of action figures accompanied by accessories, vehicles, and playsets. And the line was supported by an animated series as well as a series of comics. The toys were extremely well received and ran through 1987 with several waves released. The actual show ran for 2 seasons, 130 episodes, and they ran 6 waves, I believe, of action figures before they ended it in 1987. But the entire time, it was one of the most popular action figure lines, and still to this day, still holds that popularity in action figure collecting, especially with retro action figure collectors like myself that like the retro stuff too. Masters of the Universe just keeps gaining popularity. And they did the episode recently on the Toys That Made Us, which I think made people even more excited about getting out there and getting these retro figures from before. And there's just been a lot of stuff on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe lately. I've actually went back on Netflix and started watching the original animated series again. I think I'm like 17 episodes in. And man, what a joy it is watching these again and seeing some of the figures that I have pop up in animated form on there. Because everybody knows it was kind of like a big commercial, for the action figures. But a lot of the action figures did not even make it into the animated series as well, or only had like 1 or 2 appearances. So, yeah, I'm real excited to take a look at these, and I'll give a little history on He-Man here in a second, and a little bio and everything on what these guys, came with and stuff if they don't have their armor and everything, and, what they're all about. But yeah, before I get into it, I want to thank everybody who subscribed lately, dropped any comments, given me any likes, left any feedback. I'm really enjoying doing these retro ones for sure, and I've done some regular showcase and reviews lately too, so make sure you go back and check out all my videos. And yeah, if it's your first time viewing, make sure you do all that I just mentioned. And now let's take a look at the first 10 figures in my recollecting phase of Masters of the Universe original 1980s action figures by Mattel. Let's check them out, guys. Okay, so here they are, all 10 of the action figures that I have recollected lately. And like I said, picked them up on online auctions, so if you see a little bit of a problem with them or missing something, that is why. And I could not find, Battle Armor He-Man or the original He-Man for this showcase and review, so I had to pick up a version of He-Man, so I got Thunder Punch He-Man there, which we'll go more into. I've got 3 of the Heroic Warriors from the show, and 7 of the Evil Warriors of Skeletor. So in the background here, you also see, my Mega Construct Skeletor and He-Man there, men on card still, and little figurines of the 2000X He-Man and Beastman there, and also the best of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2-disc set there in the background, featuring some of the characters here that you'll see. And I thought that was real cool for a little backdrop there. But yeah, you see I have 10 characters here, so now we're going to go into a little bit of a showcase and review on each figure that I have, talk a little bit about them. But before I get into that, everybody knows that the He-Man was an original series, and Masters of the Universe excuse me, but it was also referred to as He-Man, and the main premise revolved around the conflict between the heroic He-Man, his real name Prince Adam, the evil Skeletor on the planet Eternia, with a vast lineup of supporting characters in a hybrid setting of medieval sword and sorcery and sci-fi technology. And then later, the spin-off She-Ra, Princess of Power, also featured He-Man's sister She-Ra and her struggle against the evil Horde led by Hordak. And I do have one member of the evil Horde here that we will look at. But let's kick it off here with the main man, Skeletor. And this was one of the most popular variations, released in the original line variants, whatever you want to call it, because he had this cap gun action. And actually here, I can pop this up. Actually, it's going to take a few, but I'm going to try to pop this backpack up and off of here so we can see the cap mechanism inside. And you can see there's still residue from where they fired caps off, but you could put the old caps from the cap guns in here. And you see there it says, keep this surface and backpack clear. So yeah, kind of like a danger warning there. I'm sure, you know, you could spark up a fire or something with this thing. Kind of like, you would never see something like this now with caps. I mean, they barely even sell cap guns anymore, or the caps to put in here. If I had some caps, I would definitely put them in here and try this thing out. But Thunder Punch He-Man here, I got notes written out for each one. This was from 1985, Wave 4, and he's got this generic sword that I'm holding in place of the Power Sword. Obviously, it's a little smaller, but I thought he still looks cool with it, holding it in display, because I don't have any weapons for any of these guys. None of them came with their weapon, unfortunately. But I like the vac metal look on the chest armor of this guy, and I can see why he was a popular variant just in his design as well. He had the red boots, but the fur on top was white there. Same, you know, red loin cloth underwear, or whatever you want to call it there, and the orange belt that the original He-Man had. And of course he has the original He-Man head, and like I said, I had to have him in the collection. His mechanism doesn't seem to want to work really good anymore. I don't know if when you put the caps in there, if it would still work or not, because when you bend his waist, it doesn't spring forward like some of them still. But nonetheless, one very cool looking version of He-Man. And he came with a translucent yellow power sword, metallized shield that could hold his sword and caps as well. It could store them. And everybody knows about He-Man. He's the lead hero of the line, the principal character, characterized by his superhuman strength. And he is the alter ego of Prince Adam. And he gets his power from Castle Grayskull, the power of Grayskull. And I hope soon to get the trusty Battle Cat. It's kind of funny because when you move the legs on this, his head moves with the legs. So how they made the feature. His backpack's kind of bulky on the outside too. And sometimes he's hard to get standing straight, like I had him there in the beginning of the video. He always wants to go like that to the side. But nonetheless, a very cool pose. So there is a look at Thunder Punch He-Man. So we had to kick it off with the main man himself, He-Man. And now let's take a look at his evil arch enemy, Skeletor. This is actually the original Skeletor, released in 1982 for Wave 1. You can see they had the real squishy head. They later released this with a harder head in another wave that I can't remember right off the top of my head which wave it was. But he had the twist and release power punch action, and I'm pretty sure that his waist action still works. Hard to do with one hand here, but he came with his Havoc staff, power sword, removable harness, and a removable belt. He does have his removable harness, which is hard to find on the figure, and that's one of the reasons I picked this lot up, even though I had the Battle Armor Skeletor already. But he doesn't have his removable belt there that came down in front, much like on the Mega Construx figure. You can see there in the front that comes down over the furry tights that he has on, loincloth underwear, whatever you want to call those. I'm going to call them his furry tights because it's just weird calling them underwear, but basically. But yeah, he's got the black belt. I'm not going to take the actual strap off. But yeah, there he is, the evil, the overlord of evil, Skeletor, the main arch enemy of He-Man, and that is the original 1982 Wave 1 release. But before we go into a little bit more about Skeletor, let's take a look at his variant here. And the variant was released in 1984 under Wave 3. And as you can see, the difference in this is it became with a battle damage indicator on the chest. So you could hit it, boom, you'd get 1 slash, hit it again, and you'd get 2 slashes. So I had this actual version as a kid. I did not have this version of Skeletor as a kid, which is kind of pretty cool to have it again, but to have it now, I mean. But to have this again is also very awesome because he was the one that I had as a kid. But I always wanted the original version, so that's why it's cool that I have him too now. But you can see a little bit of color discoloration there at the legs, which I notice a lot of them will have if they're different skin tones. Always weird to me that he had, you know, a blue skin body, but then the face of a skeleton, so, and the hood over it. I always wanted to see under that hood. Later on, they made, you know, the laser light Skeletor, or laser power Skeletor. I can't remember what it was called. It was released. It's one of the very hard to get ones, but you could actually see under the hood, and it was a bunch of wires and mechanisms, and he became more robotic over time, I guess is the story. But yeah, everybody knows that he came with that battle damage indicator, if you know Battle Armor Skeletor, but he also came with the purple power sword and the Havoc staff, just like the original as well, but he didn't have the removable belt. They just left it like it was this time. But everybody knows he's the main antagonist of the Motu franchise, archenemy of He-Man, and he seeks to conquer Castle Grayskull so he can obtain its ancient secrets, which would make him unstoppable, enable him to conquer and rule the fictional world of Eternia, where all the battles of He-Man, where they all live at, where the battles take place. So you gotta love Battle Armor Skeletor, one of my originals as a kid from 1984. Here's a look at him. Next, we're going to get into the other two heroic warriors before we start in with the evil warriors of Skeletor here. First of all, we will look at Ram Man. Always one of my favorites. He was released in 1983 in Wave 2. He appeared on the original series as well, besides He-Man, as one of the heroic warriors of He-Man. Like I said, he was Wave 4, or Wave 2, and he rammed things by pressing the spring-loaded legs into the body like this, and then there's a lever on the back, and boom, he rammed things. So let's see if we can get him to ram this box. Oh, he rammed it pretty good. So there we go. Always loved the action feature of Ram Man, because you'd have him ram other characters. Let's have him ram Jutsu over here and knock him right over. There's a good display of his action. But yeah, he came with a battle axe, and he was a member of the Heroic Warriors, as I said. He wore an indestructible enchanted set of armor over his head and shoulders, which allowed him to smash his way through almost any object in front of him. If I mess up reading these guys or mess up on the way, it's because I'm not like an expert on Motu, so I had to make notes on these, so sorry about that if I say something wrong and have to correct myself. But always loved Ram Man. He's got the sticker here for his metal armband here, but over here the gauntlet or armband is not on. But very cool. I liked Ram Man's skull there on the belt too. Very different looking figure from the other ones because, you know, he comes with that spring action. So I always thought Ram Man was just an unusual and cool figure because he could ram and spring up and down. So you could also have him, like he did on the show, jump around. So yeah, Ram Man, pretty cool. So we'll put him over next to He-Man. And next is the other heroic warrior that I've picked up for these first 10 that I've got, and that is Buzz-Off. And you can see he doesn't have his removable helmet or axe, but he does have the 2 wings, which you can remove off the figure, but I'm not going to try to remove it off there. But you can remove them off there. And Buzz-Off was from 1984, Wave 3. And he had the twist, waist, and power punch action, which is a little easier to show on this one because he has really good twist and waist action, I think. So there you go. His wings don't get in the way, but you can see how he just twisted his waist, and his action still works really good. Like I said, he came with his Axe 2 wings and a removable helmet. And Buzz-Off was a humanoid bee, and he came from a race of bee people based on the Mystic Mountains, and was one of the heroic warriors. There was like a whole army of Buzz-Offs, but I'm guessing he was the main man. So pretty damn cool there. I always loved Buzz-Off, one of my favorites. Just the coloration of him, and he could actually fly, so that was always a pretty sweet feature there. Humanoid bee. Just always liked the look of him. The yellow belt and the striped bee coloring. The insect type feet. Also, they all had different types of feet. You had the insect type feet, then you have Skeletor with like the, monster type feet. And then of course He-Man just had the regular boot feet. So they're really hard to get stands for as well, but if you watch SEO Toys review with my friend Kevin, he had a video with Mike Matei from Cinemassacre showing his collection, and he has some really cool 3D printed stands that would work for any of these guys, which I thought were really cool. The guy needs to really start marketing those. But yeah, as far as Kevin goes, got to give him a shout out because he's a big Motu fan and knows a lot about Motu. And if you're watching this right now, feel free to leave a comment and hit me up on any of these figures that any kind of info I'm missing or anything I'd like to hear. I'm like interested in the whole mythos of these characters and everything. You don't even know. I just love Motu to this day. Always have as a kid, and the love is still there. So I'm glad I'm picking these figures up again. Here is Webster from 1984, and he was a Wave 3 figure, and he used his climbing power to escape capture. And he had a backpack that had a real grapple hook that allowed the figure to climb. And he had the standard power punch action as well, and that still works on this figure. You can see there, his power punch action still works. The twist and release, if I can get out of its way. There we go. He was presented as a cunning enemy in the comics, but and Webster usually teamed up with Cobra Khan, who later became one of the Snake Men. And he is one of the few characters to cross over into She-Ra. So pretty cool little write-up there on Webster. And I guess on the show too as well, he was a cunning enemy. And like I said, he ended up on the sister show She-Ra, about He-Man's sister. One of the few He-Man characters that ended up on the She-Ra show. And he came with the backpack, the grapple hook, laser rifle, and removable armor, which I have none of. So basically a totally, exposed Webster here. Wouldn't last long in battle, probably, but because he doesn't have his backpack to climb or anything. But nonetheless, awesome for display. Love the blue skin tone. Always love the face of this guy too, the insect type face. I guess in the 2000X line, they gave him more an insect look, as Kevin mentioned in his video. So very sweet. Next we have member of the Evil Horde here, and that is none other than the Evil Horde's Suction Master, Leech. And this guy is awesome. And my friend Kevin, again, I'm bringing it up again because he just did that video. So he mentioned a funny story about how a kid said that his dad drove to work after he had, suctioned Leech onto the back window. And I guess he went to work and came back and he was still stuck there, the kid was saying. But hard to believe that that's true, that it stuck there that long. And I think Kevin felt the same way. But nonetheless, this is a very awesome figure. I'm going to show you the feature here in a second on this guy. He does suction very well, right to like a mirror or any smooth surface. And the figure will stick to any surface, like I said. And the suction cup hands were supposedly supposed to work too, but mine do not work very good anymore. But yeah, Leech, was the Evil Horde Suction Master. But now let's take a look at his suction feature here, which I will show you. So I'll be back in a second, and we'll show you that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know about hanging on, to a car all the way and back, but a car window anyway, all the way and back, after 8 hours or 10 hours of work. But leech definitely still leaches on to the mirror. You press in this button on the back, and he sticks right there. And he seems, well, I knocked him off there, but let's get him back on there. He sticks pretty good there, though, to the mirror itself. Always a cool feature as a kid. I ought to leave him up here and see how long he actually sticks on this mirror. But for review's sake, I might have to do that another time. But there's how leech worked. And yeah, like I said, and always use that mechanism to release it if you're a collector of these, because you rip that thing off, and I'm afraid that I could rip that right off of there if I don't use the release mechanism. But the hands supposedly used to stick to something, but they don't now. But yeah, there's a look at Leech's feature. Okay, so next we have Trapjaw. And Trapjaw obviously does not have any of his arm weapons to put in his arm there, which gave him more of a hand there. On the right side, he's just got his removable. I don't think you can remove that, but he had an. I don't think it's removable now that I think about it. But the rifle arm, claw arm, and a hook arm that he had with him. It's not along with this figure, but nonetheless, I had to have a representation of Trapjaw. Trapjaw came out early enough to make an appearance in the first ever episode of the Filmation series. And he was a consistent foe throughout most of the original run. He was initially conceived as an escaped convict from an alien dimension, and was one tough customer, but that was not to last, as he became one of the more bumbling characters in the cartoon. If you know, a lot of them were just morons in the Evil Warriors of Skeletor. He often had trouble deciding which weapons to use, or even getting them to fit or work right, so it was kind of funny in the cartoon. He was a little bit of comic relief. Like I said, he came with his hook arm, rifle arm, claw arm, and he had a removable belt as well that stored the weapons not in use, which I hope to get one of these days. But nonetheless, a pretty damn good version of Trapjaw here. And a little bit of a history lesson that I learned. He owed a lot to the 70s toy line Big Jim. He was based on the character called Ironjaw, which was actually never released. But the basic design of that character was actually used for Trapjaw. So Big Jim, a Mattel line that, they used the same tiger from the Safari set and painted him up green and yellow and made him Battle Cat. They had Panther in a different set as well. Screech and a couple of the birds were used from Big Jim. A lot of Big Jim reuses for the Masters of the Universe toy line, so bit of a connection there between Mattel's Big Jim and Masters line. But Trapjaw, one of my favorite looking characters from the series and the toy line. Just awesome. And he's got that moving jaw too, which you could try to make him ha 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 talk or laugh. Pretty cool. He has that hook on top of his head, which you could tie a string to too, and you could have him hang from anywhere or whatever. But yeah, you could have him swing into action or whatever. But the interchangeable weapons were the coolest. But there's a look at Trapjaw from 1983, Wave 2. And I don't know if I said Leech was from 1985, Wave 4. So I don't know if I said that or not. And Webster from Wave 3, 1984 as well. I think I said the wave launches of the rest, Buzz Off 1984 Wave 3. So all three of those from the Wave 3 in 1984. or Wave 3 in 1984, and then Leech actually was from 1985, Wave 4. So that kind of confused me. But yeah, they're not from the same wave. Those two are actually from 3, and then he's from 4. So yeah. Next we will look at one of the trusty sidekicks of Skeletor. But actually he was introduced in the mini comics as someone who Skeletor summoned to defeat He-Man and was a serious opponent, but the Filmation cartoon made him just another bumbling typical goon, never once appearing as a serious threat. And he has the arms of Cobra Khan or Whiplash. I can't really tell which exactly arms those are, but you can interchange the arms of these guys. It's not that hard, but yeah, somebody interchanged his arms, but still nonetheless he has the mask up here that changes the 3 different eyes. You have the blue eye, the red eye, and then the evil, just pissed off eye. And he has his removable armor still, so you can't beat that. So if I get me another, if I can get a loose Cyclops without the armor for cheap, I can put the armor from this one on there. But Tri-Klops was pretty sweet. I think I just called him Cyclops. He was from 1983 Wave 2, and he used his different eyes to spy for Skeletor. He had the standard Power Punch action, and he came with a Warrior's Ring, Longsword, and removable armor. I don't have the Longsword or the ring. It was released in UK with the ring too. I'm not sure if it was released in the US with the ring or not. If I'm wrong, correct me there. But he was included in episode 1 of the Filmation series as well, and was always a fan favorite. But like I said, he was a serious threat up until the cartoon. They just made him another idiot sidekick of Skeletor, but nonetheless, one awesome action figure. And he has the standard human type feet this time. Pretty cool. The thing about Trapjaw that I like is he doesn't have the furry boots or whatever, but he has like this mechanic-like look for his legs, which was very cool, like robotic style legs. You see Leech had the suction feet, and then they gave the bug-like legs to Buzzoff. And then last but not least, the final figure, the 10th one, is none other than one of my favorites, and that is the classic Jitsu, who a lot of people said was the main arch rival of Fisto, which I do not have, but that was never brought forth in any of the media. But you can see how they are similar because he has the big gold chopping arm here, which still works. You can see there the chop action, very cool. Always one of my favorite figures too as a kid was Jitsu. And he came from the later wave, a 1984 Wave 3. And he had the twist and waist power punch like I showed you there. And also his right arm is spring loaded with the giant chopping hand. He had a samurai sword and removable chest armor. And what's cool is that he has his armor on still. And they gave him the oriental look in the face, obviously, but he's got his furry boots there too with the gold at the top, red with black belt. A little background on him: he was an Eternian martial artist with a powerful enchanted golden right hand, which he uses to perform strong karate chops. Also a master swordsman, and is often considered to be the rival of heroic warrior Fisto, although that was never mentioned in any of the media, as I said. His original name was actually going to be Chopper in early stages of production, and he only appears in one episode of the Filmation series, but he has a flesh-colored hand in that one. So, little backstory there on Jitsu. Like the hairstyle on that too. Samurai warrior look. But yeah, guys, very awesome figure to add to my collection is Jitsu. But there they are, all 10 of the original Mattel 1980s Masters of the Universe action figures in this retro showcase and review. I hope everybody enjoyed this, And yes, as I pick up more, I will be doing a retro showcase and reviews on each one that I pick up and update the collection with. So they will be retro showcase and review updates. But yeah, you gotta love Masters of the Universe. A good look there at the Mega Construx figures that I have in the collection, as well as the 2-disc DVD set and the 2000X Beastman and He-Man up there. But yeah, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed checking this out. And until next time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give me a like, drop a comment down below, and let me know what you think of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe original series and figures. And until next time, guys, I appreciate the watch. And as always, until next time, keep collecting, and peace out.